What's up, guys? Emmanuel Jones here, and we back at with another video. And this time, I'm gonna ask a question: how many games will your favorite team win in 2025? So I'm gonna get through it, and I'm gonna get through my predictions for your over/under win projections. So before I get to the video, don't forget to feel free to put a thumbs up to the video, subscribe to my channel for more options, and comment down your opinion below to see how many games your favorite team will win in 2025. So let's get started here with the Cleveland Browns. So we got the Cleveland Browns. They're sitting at 4.5. Um, this is a tricky number, but I don't know why Vegas put them at 4.5. But I'm gonna go over that number because 4 seems a little bit too low. Now, now I could agree with it because the Browns, don't know who their quarterback's gonna be. Like, are they gonna start Kenny Pickett? Because Kenny Pickett's probably likely gonna start because Deshaun Watson, he's probably gonna miss majority of the season because he re-tore his Achilles. Now, we're gonna see what the Browns can do in the draft. Now, I like now we don't know what's going on at running back. Nick Chubb's a free agent, so they let him go. They still need help at wide receiver. Maybe it's through the draft. Maybe it's through free agency. Offensive line is getting older and it's probably not the same. Now, defensively, I like that they retain Myles Garrett. And, the Browns defense should be able to keep them in some games. I like their secondary. I like their linebackers. And I feel like Kevin Stefanski is one of the best offensive play callers in the league. Jim Schwartz, a really good defense coordinator. But the Browns, 4.5 is too low. I'm probably going to go over that number. Now, there is suggestion they could draft a quarterback, but I don't know. We'll have to see. But I'm probably going to say the Browns win at least like 6 games this year, maybe 6 to 7 games this year. But I don't really see them as a playoff team this year due to the fact that, I don't think Kenny Pickett's that really good. So I'm going to go over that number, but I don't think they'll be good enough to make the playoffs in 2025. Next team, we have Tennessee Titans. They're projected at 5.5 wins. Um, this is a tricky number. I'm gonna go under that number because they don't have a quarterback. I don't think Will Levis is any good. Now they do need a quarterback. They do need to improve at wide receiver. Tyler Boyd's a free agent, but I love Calvin Ridley. I love Tony Pollard. The offensive line still needs some work. Now, defensively, they're good, but I don't think they're great as they used to be. Um, they really need to improve. You know, Tennessee Titans. They need a linebacker. They need now. Corner group is amazing. The secondary is just pretty young, and I'm really not a fan of the coaching. So I'm probably going to go under 5.5. The New York Jets are projected at 5.5 wins. Um, this is a tricky one because I could see them go over that number. They can win more than 5 games, but at the same time, they got a quarterback, who's still raw and is not as good as a passer. I'm going to go under that number and say the Jets win 4 games. Maybe they win 5 and go under. Like, I'm really not a fan of the quarterback. I mean, they got some talent like Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall. I mean, they still need a wide receiver. I mean, Alan Lazard, he's a bust. They lost Conklin. They need to improve tight end. Offensive line has a huge hole. They need to improve at left tackle. Defensively, they still have some talent. They're good in the secondary, but they lost DJ Reed. Andre Sisco was a good pickup. CJ Mosley's a free agent. Like, they have some talent on defense, but I don't think the defense is probably as good as it used to be a year or two ago. And I'm really not a fan of the coaching staff as well. So, yeah. So, by the way, I'm just going to go under that number and say the Jets win at least 4 games. The New York Giants are projected at 5.5 wins. I'm going to go over because, I like the improvement at quarterback. They added Russell Wilson. They added Jameis Winston. I also really think that they really need to improve at wide receiver. I love the receivers. They're pretty young. Malik Neighbors entering year 2. They got Slayton. They got Wan'Dale Robinson. I love Tyrone Tracy. He could be the next great running back. Offensive line does need some work. Maybe it's through the draft. Defensively, they're really good. I like that they added Hall in the secondary. So the Giants did make much improvements. I'm probably gonna say they can get up to 9 wins this year, maybe 10. I mean, they could totally make that jump into playoff territory, but I wouldn't be surprised. So the Giants, I just have a question. Could Russell Wilson get back to where he was? Like, he was good with the Steelers. Now, could he totally take the Giants to the playoffs? Like, we don't know because they're in a tough division with the Philadelphia Eagles. You got to deal with. You got to deal with the Washington Commanders, and the Dallas Cowboys too could totally make the playoffs though. But I don't know. So I'm gonna go over. I'll still go over that number, but I'm gonna say at least 7 to 8 wins. But also, I really love the coaching staff. I mean, Brian Daboll could totally be on the hot seat, but yeah. So I'm gonna go over that number. The New York Saints are projected at 5.5 wins. I am gonna go. This is a tricky number. I am gonna go under because I feel like the Saints could totally be the worst team in the NFC South because even though the NFC South is very weak, I still don't really believe in, the coaching staff. Derek Carr is getting older and he's starting to fall. I love, the wide receivers. I love the additions of Brandon Cooks. I love Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. I love Kamara. They have some offensive talent there. I love that they added Justin Reed in the secondary. I mean, the defense did improve, but they got some players who are getting older, like Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, and Tyrann Mathieu. Like, they're getting older on defense, and, players are starting to slow down. So, I'm going to go under that number just because I just don't think the Saints are going to be able. I feel like the Saints need to restart, and I feel like they need to get younger. So I'm going to go under that number and say they're going to win at least 5 games. But 4, I could totally see it happening. The Las Vegas Raiders are projected at 5.5 wins. I'm going to go over. 5 seems a little bit too low. I love the additions that they added. I love the coaching staff. I love Geno Smith. He's an upgrade over Gardner Minshew. Now, I felt the Raiders, they do need a running back because Zamir White, he kind of fell off last year. They do need a wide receiver, after trading away Devontae Adams during the season. Brock Bowers is a stud. They got Jacoby Myers. They needed another wide receiver. Maybe it's through the draft. Maybe it's through free agency. I love the offensive line. Defensively, they've lost some pieces like Spillane and Nate Hobbs. Like, they added and Mulhurg. The defense, they're losing some pieces. So I might go over that number, but I could totally see the Raiders totally make that jump to playoff territory, but I wouldn't be surprised. I'm probably gonna say the Raiders win at least like 8 games. I think they can get up to at least 8 or 9, if not maybe 10. But I don't really think they're good enough to make the playoffs. But I think they can be good enough for 8 wins this year. So I'll go over that number. The Carolina Panthers are projected at 6.5 wins. Now, this is a tricky number. I totally do not agree with that number. I don't know why they put them at 6.5. I'm probably gonna go under that number. I'm gonna go under because I think they can win 5 to 6 games. I feel like Carolina could be the number two winner in that division. Now, I feel like I love the improvements. I love the offensive line a lot. I feel like adding Rico Dowdle, they'll have a strong running game with Hubbard in it. Hooker can have a breakout year. Leggett can have a breakout season. I love Thielen. I mean, the receivers are good. I'm buying Bryce Young in year 2. Wait a second. He got drafted in like year 3. I'm buying him in year 3. I feel like he can totally take this team to the playoffs, but I wouldn't be surprised. But, the Panthers, I like they added Mulhart to the secondary. Horn is a stud at corner. I would like to see them improve on defense a little bit more. Maybe it's through the draft, maybe through free agency. I would like to see them improve the defense a little bit more, but I love the O-line. I feel like it's getting better. So 6.5 is kind of too high. I'm still gonna go under that number because I still don't know because the Panthers still have a weaker schedule. So even though they're in a weak division, so yeah, I'm gonna go under that number and say maybe 5 wins. The Indianapolis Colts, they're projected at 6.5 wins. Um, I'm gonna go under because I think the Colts win at least 4 to 5 games because I don't know if Daniel Jones can totally take the Colts to a 9-win team. Even though Shane Steichen had done it though, but the Colts weren't very good last year. They went 8-9, but I'm gonna go under 6.5. I don't know if I'm a fan of Daniel Jones. Now I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Is it going to be Daniel Jones or is it going to be Anthony Richardson? I love Jonathan Taylor as a running back. Michael Pitt. I love the receivers. I love the offensive line. I love the defense. The defense is very good. I love the improvements of Bynum and Ward in it to improve their secondary. But still, I still think I'm gonna go under that number because I still don't think the Colts are gonna be good enough to make the playoffs. I think they'll be fine. I think they can be fighting in third place with the Titans. Who knows? So yeah, but I'm really not, and I feel like Big Lou was a really good improvement to the defense coordinator. Maybe he can fix the Colts defense. So yeah, so I got the Colts. I'm gonna go under and say they win 5 games. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they're projected at 6.5 wins. Now, this number is kind of tricky, though. I don't really agree with this number. I'm going to go over because I think Trevor Lawrence could totally take a leap, and I feel like he could totally take the Jaguars back to the playoffs. I feel like he will like get back to where he was. Last year he kind of fell off a little bit. Now the Jags did lost 2 of their best offensive players and Christian Kirk. They traded Kirk away. They moved on from Ingram. Now they still got wide receiver talent. Brian Thomas enters his second year. I love Gabe Davis. Travis Etienne's a stud. Offensive line is really good, but I still give it better. Defensively, they're very good, but they lost, Cisco and free agency. I feel like they can get a little better on defense, and I feel like Liam Cohen can totally take this team, to the playoffs. I feel like he has a chance. He can totally take this team to the playoffs, but I would not be shocked if Jacksonville wins the division. But I feel like Jacksonville could totally be good enough to get you over the top, and especially in a weak division. So I'm gonna go over that number and say Jacksonville can probably win 8, maybe 9. We'll probably see. The Atlanta Falcons, they're projected at 7.5 wins. I am going to go under and say the Falcons win at least 5 games because I'm not sure how good Michael Penix is going to be. Now, he could totally suck. Like I said, he could totally suck. And, he nearly took the Falcons to the playoffs, but he's likely starting. But at the same time, Kirk Cousins, he's probably going to be backup. But if he starts again, maybe I can go over. But I'm going to go under because I still don't believe in this defense. They need a pass rush. I love the Leonard Floyd addition. The secondary, Simmons is a free agent. He could leave, but I don't think that's a big loss. I love the offensive line a lot. I love the 2 wide receivers, Drake London and Darnell Mooney, and I love Kyle Pitts as tight end. I love Bijan Robinson. They have good aspects of their offense, but at the same time, I'm not a fan of the quarterback. I'm not a fan of the coaching staff. So, by the way, I'm going under that number and probably going to say the Falcons are going to win 5 to 6 games. I don't see them being good enough. I don't think they're going to be good enough to make the playoffs this year. So, yeah, so I'm going to go under that number. Because I think they're probably fighting with third place with the Saints. So, or the Panthers. So, yeah. So, I'm going to go under. The New England Patriots, they're projected at 7.5 wins. I'm going to go over because 7.5 is kind of too low for a Mike Vrabel coach. For a Mike Vrabel Vrabel coaching staff. I love what the Patriots did this offseason. I love what they did. I love the wide receiver additions of Stephon Diggs and Milton Williams and Carlton Davis and Harold Landry. I love the improvements that the Patriots did this offseason. I feel like I'm buying Drake May in year 2, and I think he's going to have a breakout season, and he looks to be a great quarterback. I feel like their O-line can get better. I feel like they might need to use an upgrade over Rondre Stevenson. The tight ends is fine. They could totally they could totally add another wide receiver throughout the draft. So yeah, I love what the Patriots did this offseason. So yeah, so by the way, I think the Patriots, I think they go over, and I'm gonna say they win at least 9 to 10 games. And I think they'll probably fight in second place with the Dolphins. See what they do. So yeah, so I think the Patriots, I think they go over. And I feel like Drake May can totally turn this. Feel like Mike Vrabel has a chance he turn this Patriots team around. So yeah, I go over that number. Next team I got the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are sitting at 8.5. This is a tricky number. I'm gonna go under and say they're gonna win at least 6-7 games. Now, I love the improvements that the Cardinals did defensively. They brought back Calais Campbell. They added Josh Sweat in free agency. Like, I like the improvements of defense. I felt the defense did get a little better this offseason. Offense still the same. They could look to add another receiver. Trey McBride is a stud. Marvin Harrison Jr. entered his second year. He looked to be a stud. James Conner's a stud at running back. I'm not sure if Kyler Murray's has a chance that is going to take this team to the playoffs. I feel like Kyler Murray, he's kind of raw and he could totally struggles in that game. He could totally trouble. He could totally take this team to the playoffs, but I don't know if I see it. I'm not a fan of the coaching staff. I'm really not a fan, of the defense, even though I love the improvements of it. I feel like they go under. I'm probably going to say 7 wins despite the additions. But I just don't think their defense is going to be good enough to make the playoffs. So I think they're going to be in last place. I have them in last in division, but I hope I'm wrong, but that's how I see it. I'm going under. The Chicago Bears are sitting at 8.5. This is tricky. The Bears totally have a tougher schedule this year because they have to play the AFC North. They have to play, the NFC South. I mean, the NFC East. Like, their schedule is getting tougher. So I'm going to go under due to a tougher schedule of the Bears because I love the improvements of the offensive line. I love the pieces that they add. Now, they could running back is a concern. They can totally use an upgrade over DeAndre Swift. Maybe should drive for agency. I love the wide receivers of Roma Duze. He enters through his second year. I love DJ Moore. Keenan Allen's a free agent, but he could totally leave. Cole Kmet is fine. Now, the defense did improve. They added Grady Jarrett. Linebacking core is good. Secondary is solid, is young, is proven. I mean, the Bears have a new coach they could be dealing with. Maybe Ben Johnson can have a chance to take the Bears to the playoffs, but I feel like the Bears did improve this offseason. I feel like there's a chance that they do make the playoffs, but I don't know if I see it. So, by the way, I'm going to go under that number and probably say they win like 7 games, maybe 8 games. So, yeah, I'm going to go under. The Miami Dolphins are projected at 8.5 wins. Slightly, this is a tricky number. 8 seems a bit too low, and we know that the Miami Dolphins tend to have Mike Daniel has had winning seasons with this team. So, despite that saying, I'm going to go over and probably say they win 9. I'm going to say they go under and say they win 8 or 7, 8 games because I believe the Dolphins are starting to regress. They lost Holland free agency. They lost Jordan Poyer free agency. Kendall Full is a free agent. They're losing pieces on the defense. Now, Teron Armstead retired, so their offensive line is totally shaky because they really need a left tackle. Maybe it's through the draft, maybe it's through free agency. Um, yeah, I love their offensive talent. I love Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I love, the tight end position, Jonnu Smith. Achens is a stud. I have questions about Tua's health. Now the question is, could he stay healthy? Like, we don't know because Tua, tends to get injured. So, by the way, I'm probably gonna say the Dolphins, go under and probably say they win 8 games because I'm not sure about Tua's health. I'm not sure he's gonna be that great. So, yeah, so I'm gonna go under. The Dallas Cowboys are projected at 8.5 wins. I don't really agree with that number. So, despite despite that number, I'm probably gonna go over and say they win 9 or 10 because I don't really agree with that number. I think the Cowboys, Dak might start to fall a little bit because I don't know if he's gonna be the same player coming off that injury. Now they do need a number 2 receiver to complement CeeDee Lamb. They lost Brandon Cooks free agency. I don't know Jalen Tolbert or Devontae Turpin's ready to take that next step. Um, they did make some moves. Javonte Williams was nice to replace, Rico Dowell, but I don't really know if that's a good move. Now, I did like they bring back Dante Fowler to replace DeMarcus Lawrence. They brought back also Diggy Zua, which that was huge. They added Kenneth Murray. They lost, Jordan Lewis, and they added him to replace. So the Cowboys did something. Solomon Thomas was a great move, but those are all backups and may not be the same players. But yeah, but I don't know if I really like the moves. But Brian Schottenheimer, they do have a new coach in Brian Schottenheimer. Now we're gonna see how that goes. Now Matt Eberflus was a good replacement, for Mike Zimmer, which that was nice. Now I'm not sure if I'm buying in the Cowboys making the playoffs this year because I feel like they're in a place that they were strong, and I feel like they're probably not as strong now. But the defense might force some turnovers. Now their secondary is great, but the defense could now the defense could be atrocious due to the size, But all of a sudden, despite all that happening, I'm still gonna go over and say they win 9 games and probably just miss out on the playoffs. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll probably see how that goes. The Minnesota Vikings are projected at 8.5 wins. Slightly. If it's JJ McCarthy, I'll probably go over. Um, if it's Aaron Rodgers, I'll go over. But if it's JJ McCarthy, I'll go under. Um, you know what? Since JJ McCarthy's there, I'll probably go over that number and probably say the Vikings win about. I'm gonna go under and say they win 10 games. I'm gonna say they go under and win like 8 games because I just don't really know about the quarterback position. I don't know how good JJ McCarthy's gonna be. Now I love the additions of Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave to improve that defense. Gilmore's a free agent; they could lose him. They lost Biden free agency. I love the skill talent offense. They brought back Aaron Jones. The receiving core is really good. I love the improvements of the offensive line. I love the coaching staff a lot. So I feel like the Vikings can totally win like probably like 9, 10 games, depending on how good JJ McCarthy's going to be. But I'm still going to go under because I don't really know how good JJ McCarthy's going to be. So yeah, so I'll probably go under and say the Vikings win like 8 games. Maybe I could be wrong about that because they were so fortunate to make the playoffs this last year, but I don't see it this year. So I'm going under. The Seattle Seahawks are projected at 8.5 wins. I'm gonna go over that number because 8 seems like it's too low. Now I did love how the way the Seahawks replaced Geno Smith. They added Sam Darnold. I love the additions of Cooper Kupp to replace DK Metcalf, who they just traded him. I know they moved on for Tyler Lockett, but the offense will still be fine. Offensive line may use a little work. Defensively, I love the improvements of DeMarcus Lawrence. Now their defensive line is really great. The secondary's pretty strong and young. The defensively, Linebacking core may need some work, and I really love the coaching staff. So yeah, I think Seattle's in a good spot. I could see them make this jump to playoff territory, and I think they can totally be fighting with, you know, they could totally be fighting with the Niners in third place or the Rams. But at the same time, Seahawks, they're projected at 8.5 wins. I'm going over that number and say they're going to win 10. But I would not be surprised if they made the playoffs. So yeah, I think Seattle, wins by 10 games, so I go over. The Pittsburgh Steelers are projected at 8.5 wins. This is a tricky one. Now, I really think the Steelers, the Steelers, they're like over, I don't know. It depends on if they're going to get Aaron Rodgers. But if they get Aaron Rodgers, I'll go over. But if they don't, I'll go under. But something's kind of telling. I really want Aaron Rodgers to go to the Steelers, but I really want it to happen. But something's telling me that it might not happen. But I think it's going to happen. So I'll go over. I love their defense a lot. I love their two wide receivers. They're big, they're strong, and they're very with speed. I mean, DK Metcalf is a good addition. They lost Najee Harris. Maybe Jalen Warren steps up. We know Mike Tomlin never has a losing season because he always really good at going over 8.5. So I'm gonna say they get Aaron Rodgers. If they start in Jackson Dart, I don't think they're gonna win 9 games with him. But if it's not, maybe they can. So I know they lost Russell Wilson and Justin Fields for agency, but if they get Aaron Rodgers, okay, maybe I say they go over. So since I heard the news saying they could sign Aaron Rodgers, so I'm gonna say he goes there. So I'm probably gonna say they're gonna go over. I think they win at least like 10, 11 games this year. So yeah. So I'm gonna go over. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are projected at 9.5 wins. Obviously, I'm gonna go over and say the Bucs win at least 9 games, maybe 10. I love the improvements of Hassan Reddick to improve that defensive line. I love the O-line a lot. I love their two wide receivers. Bringing back Godwin was a huge plus. Bucky Irvin looks to be the next great running back. I love their running game. Baker Mayfield seems like he's a top 10 quarterback. And I totally love the coaching staff as well. Yeah. I feel like the Bucs, win like 9 games, and they're probably gonna. I'd probably say they win their division because I feel like the Bucs, are just the most talented team in that division to come in first place in the division. Because I just don't think the Falcons, Saints, and Panthers are good enough to win it, and I feel like the Bucs can totally win that division, especially in a weak division. I feel like they can make the playoffs. So yeah, I go over 9.5 and say they win at least 9 and 10 games. But I know their schedule could be tougher, but that's how I see it. The Denver Broncos are projected at 9.5 wins. I'm gonna go over because I love what the Broncos did. I love the additions of Robert Spillane. I love the additions of Evan Ingram and Dre Greenlaw and Hufanga. They did improve their defensive line. I did like how the way they added a tight end, but I feel like they need to improve at wide receiver to complement Courtland Sutton. Their O-line is really good. I'm buying Bo Nix a year or two. I feel like he could totally take that next step to be a stud. I love the coaching staff a lot. I love Vance Joseph a lot. I feel like he's one of the best defense coordinators in the league. I love Sean Payton. I mean, he's a great offensive play caller, but I can totally see the defense regress. But that's how they do. But the defense was totally good last year. I feel like they can be better this year. but I feel like they need a running back. They need to add another wide receiver. Like they need, maybe it's through the draft, maybe it's through free agency. Who knows. So by the way, I'm gonna go over with the Broncos and probably gonna say they win like 9 or maybe 10 games this year. Maybe that's good enough to make the playoffs, but we'll see. So I'm gonna go over. The Houston Texans are projected at 9.5 wins. I'm gonna go over, and I think they win 10 games. I know they lost Stephon Diggs in free agency, but they also added Christian Kirk in free agency to replace Diggs. I mean, Tank Dell, he got injured, but he probably won't make the playoff. He probably won't be able to play for a whole season. Now, I do love tight end position. I do love the running. I do love Joe Mixon. I love their running game. I love the offensive line a lot. I love their defense. I love Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, which that was a great move for their secondary. I love D'Amico Ryans as a coach. I love, the coaching staff a lot. So basically, CJ Stroud, he's a stud at quarterback. So yeah, I'm gonna go over that number and probably say the Texans win 10, maybe 11 games, but I would not be shocked if that happened. But I feel like the Texans, will be good enough to make the playoffs again. You know, I love the coaching staff and I love the improvements that they made. So I'm gonna go over that number and say they win 10. The Los Angeles Rams are projected at 9.5. I'm gonna go over that number because I think the Rams win about like 10 or 11 games. I love their all O line a lot. I love the wide receiver addition of Devontae Adams to complement Puka Nacua. I know they lost Cooper Kupp, but Devontae Adams was there to replace him. I love, the running game of Kyron Williams. I think they need to add tight end. Defensively, they're pretty young, and I feel like it was great last year. They can look to improve at linebacker. They may look to improve at safety and corner. But I do love the defense a lot. I do love Shule as a defense coordinator. Yeah, and I do love the coaching staff a lot. So, yeah, I mean, keeping Matthew Stafford was huge. So, yeah, so I'm going to go over that number and probably say the Rams win about 10 or 11 games. Maybe they win division. Maybe they could be fighting with the Niners and the Seahawks. Like, who knows? No, so, yeah, I'm going to go over. The Green Bay Packers are projected at 9.5 wins. I'm going to go over that number and probably say the Packers win at least 11 or 12 games. I love what the Packers did this offseason. They added a cornerback in Nate Hobbs. They did improve their secondary. The defense still the same. Now, Jair, he could be gone, but who knows? But I predict that he's probably going to stay. O-line is a good improvement after adding Andre Diller. Now, the receiving core, is pretty young, but I look to add at least a big-time target through free agency. Maybe they can add one through the draft. I mean, Josh Jacobs is a stud. I mean, Jordan Love, he could totally fall off this year, but I feel like he's great, and I feel like he's proven, and he's getting better. But at the same time, the Packers, they could totally, miss out on the playoffs this year. But I just don't see it, especially 9.5 of that number is too low. So, and I love the coaching staff. Matt LaFleur is a great play caller, but I just don't see how the Packers, go win 9.5. See how they can go under 9.5. So I'm going over that number. The Los Angeles Chargers are projected at 10.5. This is a tricky number. I'm gonna go under and say they win 9. Now we know the Chargers were so fortunate to make the playoffs this year. Now I feel like they need to add another wide receiver to complement Ladd McConkey. I mean, Mike Williams was a great move, but I feel like he's probably not the same player like he used to be. Najee Harris was a good move. Now they lost J.K. Dobbins for agency. Conklin was a good move at tight end. Offensive line is one of the best in football. Defensively, they lost Bosa and they brought back Mack, which that's huge. I would say they need to improve at linebacker. They need to improve at corner. Rather going to bring Samuel back, or either they're going to add a big time one corner in free agency. So, yeah, I love Greg Roman a lot. I'm not a huge fan of Greg Roman, but I love the defense coordinator a lot. I'm like I'm a huge fan of the coaching staff and Jim Harbaugh. So yeah, I'm buying the Chargers this year, but I don't really know if they're gonna make the playoffs this year. I feel like they're probably gonna take a little bit of a step back this year because I still think they need to add a big time target. So I'm probably gonna say to go under that number and probably win 9 games. That's how I see it though. The Washington Commanders are projected at 10.5 wins. I'm gonna go under. This is a tricky number because Commanders did make an NFC Championship game. Now, I could totally see them taking a step back this year. Now, Jaden Daniels really, totally take this team to the playoffs last year, and he was Rookie of the Year. Now, I did love the improvement at wide receiver of Deebo Samuel. The old line may need improvement. Defensive line, they may need improvement. They moved on from Jonathan Allen. They lost Fowler in free agency. The linebacking core is good. The secondary is pretty solid. But they outlooked at another corner maybe through the draft. I looked at an offensive lineman. Washington, may need so many needs. I love the coaching staff a lot. I love Cliff Kingsbury. I love Dan Quinn. But at the same time, the Commanders, I feel like though they can totally be a team that can totally miss the playoffs this year. But at the same time, the offense is great, but I just don't know if their defense is any good. So, it's solid, but I don't think it's great. So, I'm going to say they're going to go under that number and probably say win 9 games. So, yeah. So, I'm going to go under with Commanders. The Cincinnati Bengals are projected at 10.5 wins. I'm going to go under that number and probably say they win like 9 games because I still think their defense is very flawed because I feel like it's probably atrocious. I feel like their defense was regressing. I don't really think their defense is as good as it used to be. They start to fall. I love their offense. It's a lot of fun. Bringing back T. Higgins was huge. Jamar Chase is stud. I love how they bring back Gesicki. I love Chase Brown. Joe Burrow seems like he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but I'm really not a fan of the coaching staff. I like how the way to get rid of Lou, but I think they can add, a better defense coordinator that can use an upgrade over Big Lou. But you know what? They did lose some pieces, like, Sam Hubbard, he retired. Trey Henderson can be on his way out. Mike Hilton's a free agent, so they have a lot of questions to answer on defense. So, by the way, I'm going to go under that number and say they're going to win 9. I can see them make the playoffs this year, but I don't know if it's going to happen. So, I'm going to go under and say the Bengals win 9. All right. The San Francisco 49ers are projected at 10.5 wins. This is a tricky number. 10 seems a bit too low. So I'm going to go over and probably going to say they win like 12 to 13 games. I feel like the Niners have one of the easiest schedules in the league. They have to play the NFC South. They have to play AFC South, the NFC South. Like, they pretty much have an easier schedule this year. But I understand the Niners did lose some talent. They lost too many guys in free agency. They traded Deebo Samuel away and Jordan Mason away. So I feel like the Niners, they totally hit the wall and they totally didn't have a great offseason, but they're in a spot where they're trying to get younger. So they may need a safety. They might need to add another corner. Maybe another linebacker help. They need to add another edge rusher, maybe through free agency throughout the draft. They have a lot of work to do. They need an offensive lineman. They really need a guard in the center. They need a left right tackle. They might need to add another receiver. I don't know. Maybe they don't need to. I feel like they can run this offense with Brandon Ayuk, Kittle, Ricky Personal, and Jawan James just fine. I love the coaching staff. Bringing back Saleh was huge. I'm buying the Niners to making the playoffs this year. I think Kyle Shanahan is one of the best coaches in the NFL in the league. They missed out on the playoffs due to injuries, but I'm probably gonna say the Niners, go over and win. Maybe they win like 11 or 12 games, maybe 13. So yeah, I'm gonna go over, despite them losing talent. The Detroit Lions are projected at 10.5 wins. I am gonna go over and say they're gonna win 11 or 12. I feel like the Lions, are probably gonna be one of the best teams yet again, they went one and done the playoffs last year. Now I like the improvement what the Lions did. I know they lost Carlton Davis, but they did replace him with DJ Reed. I love their secondary a lot. I love the defensive line a lot. I know they lost Zadarius Smith. Um, Offensive line is one of the best in football. I love their two wide receivers. I love the tight end. I love the running backs. I mean, Jared Goff, he's a stud at quarterback. I love Dan Campbell. It seems like he's a great coach. But, they did lose their offensive coordinator and defense coordinator. So I don't know how's that going to work. So I could totally see them taking a step back. But I feel like, I feel like they'll still have a chance, to like win the division. I feel like they can be fighting with the Packers or the Vikings. Because I don't think the Bears are going to be good enough to make the playoffs. So I'm going to say the Lions going to go over and say they win 11 or 12. And I think they win the division once again. The Philadelphia Eagles are projected at 11.5 wins. I'm going to go over and say the Eagles going to win like 12. I feel like the Eagles, I know they lost some pieces in free agency, but, I love their defense a lot. I mean, it's gotten better. I love the offensive line. It's one of the best in the football. I feel like Jalen Hurts can prove as a passer more. I love their two wide receivers. I love the tight end. I love Barkley. He's one of the best in football. I love the coaching staff. Vic Fangio is a really good defense coordinator. I love their offensive coordinator a lot. I feel like the Eagles, they did improve a little bit. I like what they did. They added Uche and all that. So, yeah. I feel like the Eagles, they could totally take a step back this year due to the talent that they lost a little bit of talent. But I feel like the Eagles, should be good enough to win the division and make the playoffs straight up again. So I'm going to say the Eagles are probably going to go over and say they win 11 or 12. Maybe I'm being biased about it, but they could have a tougher schedule this year. But I feel like the Eagles, 11 and a half, is tricky number, but I still think they'll go over. The Baltimore Ravens are next. The Baltimore Ravens are projected at 11.5 wins. I'm going to go over that number and say they're going to win at least 12. I really like the improvement at wide receiver. They added DeAndre Hopkins alongside Zay Flowers. I love, the running backs of Derrick Henry. I mean, he's a stud. The tight end is a stud. Offensive line is really good. I love the coaching staff. I love their defense a lot. So there's much you can love about this team. I feel like the Ravens, maybe this is their year. They go to the Super Bowl and win it. I mean, this team can totally go win the Super Bowl this year. So basically, they got Lamar, who's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So yeah, so I'm gonna go over that number and say the Ravens win at least 12. The Buffalo Bills are next. The Bills are projected at 11.5. I'm going to go over that number. I'm probably going to say they win like 13 or 14 games. I love the improvements of the Bills. They spent a lot of money on their players. Joey Bosa was a great addition to that defense. Now, Amari Cooper's a free agent. Are they going to bring him back or are they going to let him go? Who knows? I love James Cook. I love their running game. I love their secondary a lot. It's improved. The defense is getting young. I love the coaching staff. I love Josh Allen. I feel like he's Superman and is a stud at quarterback. I love James Cook at running back. I love Shakir. I feel like Coleman can take that next step to be a wide receiver. Maybe they may look to add another one in the draft. Who knows? The Bills, they should be favored to win division. And 11.5 is a little bit too low, so I'm going to say they go over that number and say they win like 13. And finally, last but not least, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are projected at 11.5 wins. I'm going to go over. 11.5 is kind of too low for this team. The Chiefs, I like what the Chiefs did this offseason. They brought back Hollywood Brown. Now, Rashee Rice is coming off an injury. We're going to see how he goes. Xavier Worthy looks to be a next great receiver. Travis Kelce is a stud. He's getting older. Offensive line, They really need to improve that. They traded Tooney away. Defensively, they're really good. I like how they retained Nick Bolton. They may look to improve at safety. They lost Reed Frazier. Maybe they can improve at safety. Maybe it's through the draft. Maybe they can improve at the defensive tackle position. They may need to improve that. So yeah, I love the coaching staff. I love Mahomes a lot. I love the big time players on that team. So I feel like the Chiefs have one of the easiest schedules in the league, and 11's too low. So I'm probably gonna say they're gonna go over that number and probably say they win about like 13 games. They're probably gonna be fighting with the Ravens and the Bills in the 1 seed. So yeah. Well, those are all my over under win projection predictions for the NFL 2025 season. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget, if you disagree with me, just let me know in the comment below how many games your favorite team will win. So this is Emmanuel Jones, big fan. Thank you guys for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe to my channel, and you can also watch the rest of my videos as well. Well, this is again Emmanuel Jones, big fan. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys later. Peace.